Welcome to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm your host, Dean Zarbaugh. Today's show is sponsored by House of Helga. Are you a brewery looking for some vibrant, stunning artwork to slap on that freshly bottled or canned beer? Or maybe you're starting a brewery and need help coming up with a logo. If so, contact House of Helga for all your design needs. They've worked with Masthead, Streetside, and yours truly here at the Taproom Exclusive. You can check out Kyla's entire portfolio of incredible work at houseohelga.com. On today's show, I chat with the founder and brewer of Noble Beast, Shaun Yasaki, about their Catchweight Kolsch. But first, a taste of what's going on in the craft beer world with this week's Tasting Glass, brought to you by Northeast Ohio Craft Brewery News. It looks like it's open season on buying breweries. Hot off the news that Fort Collins, Colorado's New Belgium Brewing Company was purchased by Kirin Holdings. AB InBev announced the sale of Ballast Point, which they had previously purchased for $1 billion, to Chicago's Kings and Convicts, which brews roughly 600 barrels a year. This news comes out of left field. Details were not discussed, but it's pretty clear that AB InBev took a huge loss on this deal. Weigh in with your thoughts on my Facebook page. Former guests of the show, the BottleHouse, announced the first run of cans last week. You can pick up your 4-pack of Community Pilsner, Catacomb Vienna Lager, and Drusilla Hazy IPA at either their Lakewood or Cleveland Heights locations today. I picked up mine on Friday, and they were gone by the weekend's end. Congratulations to everyone at BottleHouse. You can check out my interviews with Brian Benchik and Jason Kalakrakis at thetaproomexclusive.com/episodes. And speaking of cans, HiHo Brewing Company also released their first cans over the weekend. You can pick up your 4-pack of Hi Hazy Ho, a New England-style IPA, at their Cuyahoga Falls taproom today. Brewbound announced their 2019 award winners last week. Cincinnati's Rheingeist Brewery took home the Craft Brewery of the Year honor, with 50 West Brewing Company being named one of the 6 Rising Star breweries in the nation. For a full list of winners, check out brewbound.com. And that's all for this week's Tasting Glass. My interview with Shaun Yasaki of Noble Beast Brewing Company in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, is up next. Welcome to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm here in downtown Cleveland at Noble Beast. I am with Shaun Yasaki of Noble Beast. Shaun, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. I really like your guys' brewery. You've been here. You guys opened in 2017? Somewhere in there?
Yeah, we're pushing 2.5 years.
Nice. It's nice to see. I never really got downtown much growing up. I lived out downtown, in Lorain County area, so I didn't get downtown much because it was just so far away. Now, and there wasn't really much reason to when I was growing up. Now it's nice to see places like you guys popping up because it gets me down here, and it gets me to try a lot of new stuff that I haven't tried yet. What was it about downtown that drew you over here?
You know, finding a location was a surprisingly difficult part of opening up this brewery. I anticipated, it's Cleveland, there's lots of, old industrial buildings you could throw a brewery in.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too hard. And I expected the financing to be really difficult, and it was kind of the other way around. So, I was initially looking in Lakewood.
Okay.
There's kind of a great residential base there, and there still is yet to really have a real brewery open up. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, that's changing soon. But when I found this building was a pretty big dump. It was pretty empty inside, but there had been a fire, so the ceilings were black, walls were all smoke stained, the floor was just that dusty concrete that can never be clean.
Yeah.
So, but I saw the potential in it. I loved the location. People thought I was crazy, but it's downtown, but you're on the edge of downtown. So you have none of the inconveniences, really, of being downtown.
Right.
Parking is way easier. You still might pay a couple bucks to park, but there's lots everywhere. There's street parking.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a garage. You don't have to do a valet. We're right off of a couple minutes from 2 different, highway systems. You can walk to every stadium. So, I love that, and I'm a lifelong Clevelander. I grew up in West Park, so I was pretty excited to keep, Cleveland on the address.
It's a really nice atmosphere. You pretty much did most of the work here. You pretty much built this place from the ground up, didn't you?
Yeah, it's all brand new. Plumbing, electrical. There wasn't a piece of glass in this whole building.
Wow.
So the glass garage door behind you, we cut that out of the wall, put that in. The garage door was in the front, but it was just a solid, panel door.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big transformation if you've ever seen any of the original photos. It's surprising.
I'll have to find some of those. That'd be really interesting to see. We're sitting here. We're looking right at the brew house here. Talk a little bit about that. You also just got some new tanks, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
What's that put your capacity at now?
Oh, let's see. We just added 40 barrels, and we had 50 before.
Nice.
Yeah, 3 10 barrels and a 20. So these are German-style horizontal lagering tanks.
Okay.
So the idea is to be able to ferment in our 20-barrel tank, send the beer over at the tail end of fermentation to finish in these tanks and age. Hopefully will give us the capacity and time to actually do some lagers. Typically, I still brew lagers here and there, and I love doing it, but it always screws things up really bad because we previously had 4 fermenters. And you try and leave a beer in the tank for a long time, and then all of a sudden you're out of seasonals.
Right.
It never worked out too well. But
well, it's nice to see you guys have a lot on tap right now. We're both drinking right now the Catchweight Kolsch, a great Kolsch style. What was it about the Kolsch style that drew you to brewing it?
I went to Germany a few years back for just a little beer vacation.
Okay.
I went to Cologne and Dusseldorf, 2 Rhineland cities that are known for making ales, where Germany is predominantly lagers outside of wheat beers, and just fantastic beer culture in those cities. You go into these original pubs, and you just get these tiny little stanges, I think they're 20 centiliters, so like half of this.
Okay.
It just keeps coming, until you put your little coaster on top of your glass. They just keep bringing you these tiny little beers. And it's just so fun, and it's so easy to drink. So I always knew I wanted to do like Kolsch and Alt as kind of 2 of the house beers. And the challenges with Kolsch are numerous. For such a simple beer, I honestly think it's the hardest style of beer to brew. Outside of some maybe very obscure things like alembic style or something, which is also very difficult. But it's just so simple. It's so clean. There's nothing to hide behind.
Right.
Even in German pills, you've got a lot more bitterness and hop flavor. Here, you just got this like transparent, delicate malt flavor. You have to balance the mouthfeel, the water chemistry just stands out so much more. Just a touch of hops, but not much.
I like this style. It's nice, like you were saying. You can you don't have to stop after like a couple. You have a few. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to drink. This is a style that I was sort of unfamiliar with before doing the show, and I've gotten to. This has started to become one of my favorite styles. I really like, if I go to a brewery, if the first thing I see on a tap list is a Kolsch, I'm going to try that first, because I really want to know where the scale of talent is on the brewer side, because like you said, there's nothing to hide behind in this. So if you don't knock it out of the park, it's pretty apparent right away. Yeah,
and while this seems to be a popular beer here, it's very frustrating to me because I still don't like it. I've gotten a lot of other beers that we brew continually to a point where I'm very happy with. You're always looking to improve, but this one, man, it's just hard.
Is it just because of the cleanness of it, where just the slightest tweaks here and there could potentially have disastrous effects?
A Kolsch should be a pretty dry beer. You want it very well attenuated, but at the same time, when you do that, that's where kind of like some of the more harsh characters can come out a lot easier. Some astringency and just kind of like rough ends from the malt character. So it needs to be very dry, but it needs to be very soft and have a little sweetness to it. And it's really hard to like achieve both those things because they're kind of at odds with each other a lot of times. So.
How did you find that sweet spot then? When you were like, how many batches did it take to kind of get this dialed into where you were happy to have it on tap?
Well, I mean, I've always been happy to have it on tap, but that's what I'm saying. It's still, this one is still a work in progress more than others.
Gotcha.
I think we're on batch like 25 or something.
Oh,
too,
nice.
So we make quite a few of them.
Little incremental improvements here and there, and you keep building it up. I mean, if this is where it's at in the beginning, man, I can't wait to see where it's at the end.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But hey, that's the science behind this. There's that art and science combination in it. There's always that strive to improve everything and make sure that you're putting out the best product there is. And I was saying off air, this is one of my favorite Kolsch's in Cleveland, and I really can't wait to keep seeing it improve.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking down on this beer so much.
No, it's nothing.
It is a very nice beer.
It's not that you're talking down on it. It's almost the opposite. You're like, I like this, but you know that you can still find things that can be slightly better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's not a dig on the beer. That's not a dig on you at all. That's just the evolution of brewing and why I can't do it.
One of the challenges that's super fun is that constant pursuit for like this minute little, perfection that nobody really notices or cares about except for you.
And see, like that's for me. I don't to have the kind of patience that you do to do, let's say 25 batches of this, and keep getting it. Man, like I would have stopped like long just for me because I don't have that kind of patience. I can't do what you guys do, so I definitely applaud that. Starting in Cleveland, so what got you into beer itself? What was it that pushed you into actually wanting to do this for a living?
I guess I just kind of got into craft beer, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Started homebrewing. Never really, to be honest, I was never a very advanced homebrewer. I didn't really do it that much before I had an opportunity to jump into commercial brewery.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always just kind of loved things that people put passion into, whether that's food, a beverage, furniture building,
Mm-hmm.
anything as mundane as doing drywall. But if you take it to a level where you're a craftsman, I always appreciate that. So that was like the initial draw. It's very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and you can learn so much about it. And it's a fun thing to learn about. It's a fun thing to drink, and it's there's a lot worse things that you could be interested in.
Right, absolutely. And so you don't really have any sort of science background, nothing. You just kind of were like, you know what? Let me just pick this stuff up and see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, education-wise, I have a business degree.
Nice.
I've always been kind of technically minded, not necessarily on the science side. That's never been a strength of mine, but more on a mechanical level. So it's super cliche at this point, but that mix of art and science, it's just kind of the sweet spot for me, and that's just kind of how I've always, thought and worked.
Absolutely, it shows in the work too. Talk a little bit about the growth from the day you opened to now. I mean, you got these new tanks that you guys put in, which is awesome. What's it been like, kind of in that almost 2.5 year span?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot more successful than anticipated, which has been great. At this point, we've expanded tanks like 4 times. Always like really small.
Yeah.
The first one we just got this small 5-barrel blending tank. Used its carbonate barrel-aged beers and blend things from there. And it's also nice. We'll do like a half batch here and there of something that's going to be difficult to sell 10 barrels of, in a timely manner. So we'll do a little half batch of that. And then we ordered, another bright tank, a serving tank for our cooler.
Nice.
That was a bottleneck there, and then we got the 3 fooders at the front of the building. So that's kind of long-term mixed culture sour program. Top one has a huge barley wine called We Don't Run, 17%.
Nice. Oof.
I struggle to get to 17%,
Monster.
but it's actually tasting really, really nice. And then we just added these 2 lagering tanks. So.
That's awesome. Talking about the success of this place, you go into any of the craft beer Facebook groups right now, and somebody's coming into Cleveland that hasn't been here in a while and wants to check out the brewing scene. They're always asking for recommendations, and it's really cool to always see Noble Beast right there in one of the first few comments.
That's a great compliment. I love that. I don't do too much personal Facebook myself.
Good for you.
No regrets there, but people always tell me that, so it's great to hear. Kind of the business plan was always, it was to keep it simple and do what we love. This is still a passion project, but to do that, I knew you obviously have to be a profitable business.
Yeah.
So I was approached it as like how can we make this small business as profitable as possible so that we can afford to do what we really want to do, do what we love, and not have to cut corners or look for alternative revenue streams that are not as fun. So, food was always a huge part of our plan, and James Redford, the chef, my business partner, has just been doing an incredible job in the kitchen. And so, we wouldn't be getting that praise on the beer alone. It just wouldn't be happening. So it's just kind of that full package of really great, creative, innovative food, good beer, great environment, great service.
Yeah. I went to Night at the Brewseum, and I kept going back to your guys' table with my food tickets because it was just out of this world. I like you guys do stuff that you don't normally get at a lot of the breweries around town here either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unique to you guys, and it really shows in the passion that you guys have for the product. When you put it out at the end of the day, it shows, man. I mean, you guys do a really good job down here.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to say congratulations on all the success. And anything else you wanted to talk about as far as Catchweight goes, pairing options with your food menu, what would you say would go well when drinking the Catchweight?
You know, I think like the Kolsch would go really nice with some of the lighter salad options. If you've got a delicate food that you don't want to overpower, this is a nice beer for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything like that would pair very nicely. Anything else about Catchweight you want to get out before we head out?
No, I don't think
all right,
so.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Tune in next week for another all-new episode here at Noble Beast.